Hey everyone, this is Chris Grasso with the Indie Spiritualist podcast on Ram Dass's Be Here Now network. And today my guest is Joel Korte. Joel, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I'm so excited for this episode. So I'm going to read Joel's bio, and this is a big part of why I am excited. Joel Korte was the founder of Chase Bliss, a Minneapolis-based company celebrated for its innovative guitar effects pedals. Joel's journey began with a passion for audio electronics, leading him to study electrical engineering and work at ZVEX Effects before launching his own company in 2013. The name Chase Bliss honors his late brother Chase and is inspired by Joseph Campbell's mantra, "Follow your bliss." Joel is also a person who stutters that brings authenticity and openness to his leadership, encouraging bold creativity and collaboration. I love that bio. So, thank you. So, Joel, Chase Bliss pedals. I want to first preface this for listeners that we are going to get nerdy about music and pedals and equipment, but there's a bigger conversation we're going to have in this one. We're going to talk about creativity, community, something that this show is very passionate about. And this is actually the first time I've had any semblance of a pedal creator or music, any company type of thing on my show. And the reason, Joe, I thought to reach out to you, and I know I've mentioned this briefly in my introduction email, but it was somewhat recently I saw on Instagram a very, very human post you'd made. I've always, I've seen you around and you've seemed like a very human person, but I was just taken back by it, to be honest. I remember you teared up. You talked about the state of the world in certain ways. I know you'd mentioned transgender individuals and how difficult it is for some of them right now amongst, many other human beings. I think you talked about your brother a little bit. So I was like, wow, I was truly touched. And I said, I think there could be a conversation here, and in a way that gets to celebrate your company, who I've been a huge fan of for a long time. I think my first pedal was the Dark World years ago. And but anyway, so all that said, let's go back with, I know you've talked about this, but your brother, he died in a drunk driving accident. And like it said in your bio, the name is, an honor to him and Campbell's great teaching. Can you tell me a little bit about that and the way that it did inspire you, to what you do today?
I think about, just my, upbringing, and life and the different experiences, that I've had. It all sort of, I would say there wasn't anything that was like terribly unusual about it, besides maybe the fact that, I'm someone who stutters, but, I don't think there was anything, particularly, I guess, I don't know. Maybe I just think I'm like then I still think I'm in like just pretty normal person. But I didn't feel that way about my brother. Like he was just this absolutely incredible, dynamic, intelligent, talented, just like magnetic personality. And so I kind of always felt like, well, he's special, and I'm whatever I am. And, so he knew, I guess I don't know exactly when, but he knew that he wanted to, pursue a career in acting. I mean, kind of as long as I can remember us talking about like, what did we want to be when we grew up. For my brother, it's like, he just, that was his world, and he's always, kind of living his life and doing things in support of that. So he was, as people that are pursuing acting careers, often the circumstances around how he died is he had done this project with this uh, director that lived in Arizona, and they're having a meeting, and they just like met halfway between uh, where she was living and he was living in L.A. and it was just the most random thing. It was like he was driving home, and I've been to the accident site many times.
Hmm.
And it's actually a really beautiful area of the desert, and it was just this straight interstate, and this guy was driving extremely fast, and I think about all the variables that led up to the moment that he died, and like apparently there was two or three cars that he almost hit. That was like that this guy almost hit. That was like inches away, and then he hit my brother, and he died. And I, I it. I think for a lot of people have experienced all different kinds of tragedies and things like that. But like my mindset was just always like I never really thought anything like that would happen to me,
Right.
or to people that I knew, and I just didn't really think about it and consider it, and just to have everything change so dramatically, so unexpectedly, so instantly, it I've just never even been close to the same.
Mm.
And after really intense, uh, that honestly still continues sometimes. An intense period of grieving.
Yeah.
It's just so clear to me that life is short and it's finite, and you don't know if you're ever going to see people that you love again. You don't even know if you're going to wake up tomorrow, and and I think about that all the time. I think about if I were to die tomorrow or in a minute from now, or get some sort of diagnosis, would I look back at my life and think like, hey, I I kind of I did it. I let within reason, without sort of uh just finding the balance between like you know acting I guess irresponsible for my family or something. I went after it, and so like that was the main thing that I've tried to carry forward, and also like this idea of to follow your bliss, and how doors can open up for you that might not open up for anyone else if that's what you do. I
Mm.
think that has been really true in my life, and I'm not. I guess I consider myself agnostic, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's out there, but it sure does seem like sometimes that my brother's helping me along.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you for that transparency. And we are similar in that agnostic. I have a deep reverence for a lot of the Eastern philosophical traditions, and
Mhm.
they've helped me a bit in my life for sure. But I often say the one thing I know is I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's a comfort in that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I agree. And especially now when I look around at the world we live in, and the divisiveness that
Mhm.
is happening, and I don't identify either way. I certainly resonate more with certain individuals that lean certain ways. But
Sure.
I was actually talking to my mom earlier today about how I don't want to be part of the division, and
Yeah.
finding that balance of not being silent and complicit in certain things that are happening, but also not being part of the division. Now more than ever, I truly believe connectivity is so important, so important. And
And I
yeah,
think that's why that video I made resonated with you specifically.
huge.
That's what it was all about,
Yes. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
appreciate that from you a lot.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. The work I do now, first I want to say something, comment on what you'd said about following your bliss. Um, I did that, and that is how I managed to have some books published, like and majorly published, which to this day still blows my mind because on paper, I have no business publishing books. I didn't go to school for writing. I don't have a college degree. I just wrote from my heart and some things aligned and kind of like how you feel like your brother, maybe guiding you along and there. I don't know. Certain things lined up, too frequently to be coincidence, I think. But
Sure.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And then I just lost what I was going to say. There was a counterpart to that. And I lost it. Oh, with division, there was another thing I wanted to say, and I did lose it. And here's the humanness of podcasting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, get relating to you more and more as we go on here.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. It was yeah. So the work I do now, I still write a little bit, but I don't know if that's a field I'm going to go back to. Since then, I work now in the nonprofit sector, and I'm in the trenches, working with people, and it's very emotionally draining, but also heartbreaking, heartfelt. I mean, my first client where I worked now literally died within 24 hours of me working with them, overdose, and but I know where I'm supposed to be right now, and
Yeah, I think that's really cool that you say right now too, because I think
yeah,
that's important. Because even in the sense of like following your bliss, I think that changes as like the different acts of your life, the different arc of your
yeah,
life, but that's great. It sounds like you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and
right.
maybe you know I just the way you're describing your work, I don't know if anybody's meant to do that forever because it's I don't know if I don't know if you can. I'm sure some people can. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
able to, I don't think, but
yeah,
uh because of all the reasons you mentioned, it's just incredibly hard and challenging,
yeah.
taxing.
I appreciate you saying that, and you're right. Right now is important because I've been thinking, yeah, like burnout's a thing. I've
Yep.
experienced it in the past, even when I was writing and speaking and traveling. I'm sure you can relate. I know you're a very busy man.
Oh, yeah.
But to put that in perspective, I was talking with my partner yesterday, and she works in the death industry, and she's done that for years. And right now, she's working at a crematory. Talk about seeing things. She had to cremate two babies the other day, babies, and she was pretty transparent with me that she's been keeping at arm's length the emotional impact that work's been having on her, and she is now exploring moving on, and I fully agree with that. How long some people can do it for life, I suppose, but I can't even imagine.
Yep.
But anyways, not to get too dark here. Let's go back to the connectivity we were talking about, because one thing I love about Chase Bliss is not only the creativity that can come from these guitar pedals, but the community, that surrounds them. There's so many great forums and message boards and people. I don't know if you're probably aware, but there's an app where people, like, somebody created an app. It seems pretty cool. You can upload settings.
I had a meeting with those guys earlier this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it by accident, and I think it's pretty cool. I hope they're good with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They're I think like initially I was, we've had sometimes people come in and they have like tons of energy and tons of excitement, and they have some project they want to do, but it's very ambitious. So
Yeah.
it's a bit like worrisome because we've just seen people fall off before, but I think these guys are different. Like they're I think ultimately we're trending into that will be a collaboration officially.
Oh,
'Cause
cool.
they are very good.
Yeah, I was so impressed. And not gonna argue, it's great that it's free. That's very
Yeah.
cool. And just again, people are uploading their own presets. And so let's talk about let's get into the beginning of the creativity of these pedals. So I had I don't know if you ever watched The Sopranos, but that was
I
one of my
never
favorite
have,
shows.
but like
Okay.
it's coming up more and more in my life where like I know I'd love it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do that.
It's a good one. I only mention it because a couple years back, I had Michael Imperioli, who was one of the stars on the show, and it was such an honor because I love that show, and I've been a fan of his since he was back with Spike Lee, doing movies. And great guy. He's also a fantastic musician. Loves like a lot of cool punk and rock. But he saw in the background when I was doing that my pedal board, and he's like, "I don't
Okay.
know how you do that." He's like, "I just plug and play," and I'm like, "I know it's like a whole thing."
Mhm.
But the Chase Bliss pedals, and there are some other companies out there, but these are like a next level. There is so much you can do with these. So, what was your inspiration for creating? And I'm going to show them too for anybody that's watching this. I've got a few here, but what was the inspiration going into this of just creating this field of possibilities in a cool board?
Oh, I guess I haven't been asked that question specifically for, or I just can't remember. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking about like, well, what? Yeah, I think it was. I was working at this company called ZVEX, and they
Mhm.
make guitar effects pedals, and it was kind of a dream job for me, and but as the years went on, there was definitely times where I would feel, and everybody experiences this, but we would be um uh working on a project, and you would have like very strong opinions, and I just felt this like crazy like desire to just or like, yeah, I would do these thought experiments like, well, what decisions would I make if it was all up to me, if I had my own company, and so it just sort of started developing it, and then you know I think it just got to a point where it was just sort of overwhelming. It was just like, well, I have to try this, and I never thought I would have a single employee. I never thought I never thought it would be like what it is today. But
Mm.
I guess it was just this overwhelming sense of I feel like I want to, start something on my own.
Yeah.
And then at that point it was the some of the initial concepts that I had, it was like I just knew what I wanted to do. It's just like it just like fell out of the sky, kind of. I don't know about fell out of the sky. It was just like all I thought about, and
Yeah.
it was just it was so cathartic to like. I remember those like that first year, before I had to worry about responding to emails to people or like packaging or shipping products or posting on social media. It was all about just the work and the project. It was so beautiful. And of course I didn't, that wasn't all I was working on. I had, other part-time jobs and stuff like that. But I'd never been one to like wake up early. And I remember I like set my alarm for 5 a.m. and just pop right out of bed and start working on, a pedal. And that was just like, whoa,
Whoa.
dude, you love this,
Yeah.
this is your bliss right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
making this thing.
That's amazing. Um, so for me to wrap my head around, how these are created, okay, I've watched some basic videos about soldering and
Mhm.
this little circuit boards. Uh, so you went to school for engineering, correct?
Yeah, I
That's
wasn't a very good student. You have to learn so much, and
right.
I cared about audio, and there was, we just whenever there was audio applications for the things like my, antennas would raise, and I'd get real interested. But it really, and then there was a microprocessor class. We were like learning to code and stuff, and I learned a lot at that. But it really wasn't until I started working at ZVEX where I really learned a lot about guitar effects and how they work and how to control them. And the thing I really gravitated towards, and I think gave me some measure of confidence for starting my own company, is I really liked the digital control of analog technology, because you could do things with analog effects, vintage inspired types of things. If you controlled them in a sophisticated way with microprocessors, it felt like that there was a whole world out there that was kind of not explored in the way that I thought it could be.
Sure. So I like, you're talking about the, mixing the analog warmth with the digital flexibility. Something I was thinking of, curious about, is do you ever find there's like a human or emotional quality that you hope to capture in these pedals? I know we're talking about audio and sound, but, for example, I have your Mood MK2 here, which is probably the most, I mean, anybody who knows about ambient ethereal music knows this pedal. This is the second version, but this is, I mean, when I play this and when I hear other people play this, whether it's guitar or synth or any other ways in which they use it, I've seen a wonderful woman with a harp. I forgot her name, but it's so cool. Yes, I hear some gorgeous tones, but like my heart literally, like it warms. I feel it, viscerally in a beautiful way in my body. So when you're creating things like this, are you thinking about, or is that part of the creativity, or is it more audio for you?
I mean, I think we're on just such the same wavelength here. I think it's for me, it's just so similar to music. Like a pedal creation is very similar to music creation, where for me, I just love all types of music, and because like the common denominator for me is, does it move me? Does it make me feel some kind of emotion when I'm listening to this song or that song? And it's the same thing for pedals. If I'm playing, a pedal or playing with a pedal, if there's elements of it that I feel emotionally connected, or it's evocative in certain ways, that's what I hone into, and so like that's if I'm playing a thing and I start exactly as you describe, it's like then I know I'm onto something,
Yeah, love that. So you're talking about collaboration. I know we were talking about the app, but I know you've collaborated with others in the past.
Yep.
And it seems like I'm very similar in my way. When I do workshops, I loved teaching, but then I loved collaborating and just creative energies coming together. So, is there a story you have from a partnership or a collaboration, that may have shifted a pedal or a vision you had, and then you get in the room and it's like, oh, okay, no, let's do this. And the spirit of this question is, again, open-mindedness and coming together, again, in a very divisive time in which we're living.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time, and I kind of described it earlier, where I was just I just loved working alone, and I think at that time I thought it was always going to be that way. I liked to be, alone at my workbench and experimenting, and I found that, really gratifying, and I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was gonna try to remember all the specifics around it, but the first collaboration that Chase Bliss did was this. We've just done kind of a new offshoot of it, but we did this pedal called Brothers, and I collaborated with these guys, and they had all this expertise and knowledge that I didn't have. And when we worked together, it was it was so clear to me that like we were able to build something together much more efficiently, and be able to have fun working on a project together. And I just, after that experience, I just got addicted to collaboration, because it was like we were able to, to make these, make these things that I never, never, ever, ever could have done it on my own.
Mm.
And it's just fun to work with your friends.
Yeah.
And so I think we've done like 12 or 13 collaborations now, and we'll just keep continuing to do it. And it's become kind of like a big part of our identity as a company.
Yeah. Well, the one you mentioned, Brothers, I wonder if there's a sense of just, so the pedal itself we're talking about is, you worked with there's the Analog Man pedal, correct?
Yeah, so that was the one we just came out with. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And this is a pedal, for people that don't know, there is a wait list that's like years long, and it's, you buy it and then people just flip them or love them. But I've watched several videos about the Brothers, and people pretty resoundingly, with all credit due to Analog Man, are like, this is Analog Man, but better. And you don't have to wait years. And I know it's subjective. I respect that. But there's, I would say, more people than that that's the feedback about this pedal. Like, that's got to feel kind of cool, And again, there's a collaboration. Like, look at what happens when people come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that one felt like, too, when I first reached out to Mike, because I didn't really know him at all. And it was I just kind of got obsessed with this, idea of working with him, and I thought it would make just this great device. And luckily, he really shared the vision quite early on, so it really didn't feel like it took convincing. It was more just, it took forever because it was just tough to get right. But he was, he was always like available, and just in encouraging, and believed in the project.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any chance at some point, this is a selfish question, I will own that, but so Chase Bliss does all these amazing pedals. The one area, unless I'm forgetting one, I've not seen the company endeavor into any like doomier, like droney. I know you've worked with Empress, who's done some awesome like stuff in that regard, but Chase Bliss ever going to consider something in that road, or do you feel like that market's not for you?
I absolutely would. I think for me, it's all about, it has to feel authentic, So like, because that isn't a world that I really have such experience in, even though I do, like I mentioned earlier, I like all types of music.
Yeah.
The right collaborator, because if the right collaborator came along and it made sense, absolutely, I'd be into that. It's just that, like, I wouldn't want to do it just to do it, or like to see an opportunity in the market and just be like, well, here's what it is, and not actually feel like we're part of that scene, and where we really would be like solving problems for people, or adding something, sort of new to the sonic landscape. It just, I just can't, that it just doesn't, it has to feel right,
Yeah. And that is why I respect the hell out of you and the company, is you nailed it. Like, you have to feel it, not just to put something out. I know, and anyone that knows your company, you could put a pedal out tomorrow in that market and make all sorts of money, I am sure. But that's why Chase Bliss has such a great reputation, the authenticity, the integrity. Like, it's a very real thing. And sadly, it can be rare these days. There are a lot of great music companies out there that do still hold that. But there's a lot of people out there that just want to make money. And it's...
Which is understandable. I just,
of course.
I just feel like, I don't, something about the way I'm wired, I just feel like shit if I don't, if it's not, if it's just doing something to make money,
Yeah. No, Very, very similar. I completely, I resonate totally with that. You've described, I've heard in the past, I don't know if it's verbatim, but, Chase Bliss can be a conduit for people to live out their dreams. You have these pedals and they just, like I've said, possibilities are endless. Is there a moment where you've seen that happen in a way that made you stop and like really feel the impact? Like, I don't know if there's a song you heard or a performance or I don't know, like something that just made you really stop and be like, wow.
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like I'm trying to think if there's I don't know, the one thing that's kind of coming to mind, and I think it's more just like a full circle thing with my brother. I feel like I'm bringing up Ed O'Brien a lot whenever, but I think about when I first heard from Ed O'Brien, who's a guitarist in Radiohead, because my brother was a huge Radiohead fan, and I remember, my whole like musical identity is kind of based around what he told me to like, but I liked it too.
Yeah.
And I just remember him listening to Kid A and
Oh,
Amnesiac.
yeah.
What is this stuff?
Yeah.
And really just it was just that part of my life where I'm just you have that, you're just so impressionable, and like stuff just kind of gets into your heart and your gut, and just to to hear from him that he thought our work was cool and interesting, and I just like, I remember reading this email, I just felt like this like warmth kind of just like wash over me, like whoa, it almost like
Yeah.
and so that was probably out of all of the moments, kind of felt like, just I think it just because I felt so connected to my brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I love Radiohead. Kid A, one of the best, and their whole catalog. But yeah, that's incredible. I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that that had happened. And so for
Yeah.
me, secondhand cool, because now I'm talking to somebody that, got an email from Radiohead.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you,
Mhm.
Joel. That's cool. Um, but yeah,
Also,
that
just the
wow.
best guy ever too. Just like the nicest, most genuine dude. So that's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's careful sometimes meeting your heroes, which I've had
Mhm.
those experiences for sure. Um, wow, okay. So is there what's one I mean, this is a pretty broad question, but is there a piece of music or a performance with your pedal that you've seen or heard, kind of piggybacking on the last question, that's really given you pause as well? I'm guessing there's infinite ones probably, but is there any that really sticks out in your mind?
Oh man, that is such a good question.
Sorry, I'm
Um,
kind of saving the heavier ones for later.
yeah. I mean, just recently, uh, I've gotten to be like friends a bit. Well, I'm uh, there's a gentleman named Michael Bethencourt that works with Jason Isbell, and we've gotten to be very good friends. And so I've gotten to know Jason a bit as well, and I went and my wife and I and a couple friends, we went out to Red Rocks to see Jason Isbell in the
Mm,
400 unit, and I've gotten to know those guys, and just kind of knowing that they're all using Chase Bliss pedals in certain moments, and just absolutely just beautiful night,
mm,
and with my partner, and yeah, that felt really good. It
mm.
felt like you felt that connection,
Yeah,
and just very, very, very grateful and happy to play a role in something.
yeah. Absolutely. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So, you know, something I wanted to ask you about too. So, going back to that Instagram post that led me to connecting with you, you talk pretty transparently about your stutter.
Hmm.
And one of the great teachers in my life who transitioned several years back was Ram Dass, who this network, his podcast is hosted on. And he had had a stroke into his career, and he ended up having aphasia, which I know very different things. But we had spoken once, and he told me how it gave him pause. When he was communicating with people, he was a very present human, which I feel with you, very present. But he said it gave him a bit of a pause in the way that he would interact and connect with people. Do you find with your stutter, that that might be something similar, or do you find, because I know I've seen some message boards at times. People can be shitty. Let's just be honest. People can be shitty. So I don't know. Uh, has that impacted your life in that way, or within communicating, within creativity, within community? Because you did talk about that in the video, and I really love that you're so honest and transparent about it, and not
Yeah.
why.
I mean, I think a big, and I didn't mention this in the video. I think maybe just because it felt a little, I don't know, it just didn't feel quite right. But
Mm,
um, when I really started thinking about this, I was out on this annual camping trip that I do with some really good friends of mine. We do it every year, and we there's this great area called the Boundary Waters in
mm,
Minnesota, and it's on like the border between Canada
mm,
and Minnesota, and there's no motors or anything. You just go in with canoes, and then there's a bunch of lakes all like really close to each other, so you uh portage around and go camping, and it's every year that we've done it, it just seems to be like more and more important because you're totally disconnected as well. So it's like you don't, you're with your very best friends and they're not on their phones all the time, and you're having these great conversations, and you also spend a lot of time alone, so we're all kind of there for each other, but we're also I'm writing things down, I'm reading and
mm,
thinking, and just having a lot of space. And one of the things that might get emotional here, but that I was really thinking about with my stuttering is, yes, of course, it's been a big challenge in my life, but
yep,
I was thinking about how actually celebrated and supported I am with it nowadays. And like how almost all of the comments, I get about it now, it's just like, wow, Joel, that's really cool that, you're able to do these videos or run this company or all of that, despite having a stutter, and how it's really seen as sort of like this triumphant positive thing. And I was thinking about, how I've, been, you know, I've spent more time with transgender people in the last few years, and I was observing how that's like sort of the opposite for them, and especially lately, and how um I guess I just felt like if people treated me how they treat them, I don't even know if I'd be around, you know?
mm,
I I hated myself so much. And if I felt like everybody hated me like I hated me, that I would probably just, take care of it for everybody. And
mm,
it's just started feeling like so deeply fucked, how I see people treating other human beings. And I felt like ever since I kind of had sort of realization. I just knew that I don't know what it was, but I'm like, I think I just need to like kind of try to explain this somehow. That I just think that, how can it, I have this like, sort of weird, unusual, rare thing about myself that, I it's somehow celebrated, but then, yeah, I hope I'm making sense. It
Yeah.
just felt, I just couldn't, I just needed to, I don't know what it was, but I'm just like, I don't need, I just needed to like talk about this.
Yeah. I'm so glad you did, and thank you for saying what you did. I shared a little bit about my experience in our email interaction, and
Mhm.
I'm someone who has, attempted to do that, and I've been in psychiatric hospitals, and I know that pain, and I have friends that identify across the board, and I know some that have successfully taken their lives, and so I feel very much what you're saying right now, and I thank you, for being open and making that video, because I'll be honest, I don't know what to do in this day and age except have conversations like this. And like I said earlier, I do not want to contribute to the divisiveness that is everywhere right now. I get emotionally charged at things. There are injustices that I feel outraged about, but I struggle with how to channel that in a way that's conducive to healing,
Yeah.
like,
Because
so,
you kind of know where the anger and yelling leads. Like
yes.
it's
Yeah.
like it doesn't ever like move anyone to
Right.
be, it's further division. But that's like the instinct sometimes, or
Yes.
oftentimes. So
Yeah.
but yeah. Yeah.
It is part of the human nature. And so I give myself a little grace in that area because then I will judge myself, because
Yeah.
you should know better. But no, yes, we're humans. We are wired certain ways. So that aside from, being transparent, making some videos, having these conversations, you know, what do you think? How do we as human beings start working our way out of this mess we find ourselves in?
Oh geez.
Yeah. And this is just two
Honestly,
guys chatting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think though that there are times where you have to do the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know when those times exactly are, and I don't know if I should be doing them more. I don't probably don't think I should be doing them less, but it just that was a time where it was so clear to me, and I couldn't. I knew I couldn't move forward unless I did something, and so I want to be receptive to those moments because it also was at the time where I felt like because of my experience with stuttering,
Mm.
I felt like I had some way to share something that might reach someone that maybe hadn't thought about things in that way before. And I
Yeah.
think it was successful, but I
Yeah.
don't, you know, I yeah, I if you figure it out, let me know.
Vice versa. Yeah. I have no clue, man. But I do think this is a start. Just sincere, like heart conversations. Yeah, we're talking about pedals and creativity, but we're talking about humanity too. Because this is what we all find ourselves in. This experience, whatever the hell this is, here we are.
Mhm.
And so I try to live by at least two commandments. Just two. I keep it simple. Be cool. Don't be an asshole. That's
Yeah.
it. I try. I try.
I do think though that as just something I've observed with myself, but I think other people can relate is I do think that it's really important to like be in the presence of others,
Hmm.
and I notice with myself, like my instincts, I'm an introvert. I just,
Hmm.
if it was up to me, I would probably just sit in a room alone all day. And I think I would get real sad and lonely after a few days, but like I would still like want that. It's like, and
Yeah.
so I just think it's so important to be in person around other people, and not necessarily people that you agree with about on everything, because you then you can, even someone that you think, they might say something, and I don't know. I think about like conversations I've had with my mom, and she's like so upset, and she's like, "I'm never going to talk to that person again." And I'm like, "No, like that. We got to talk to each other, and we got to be around people who don't agree with everything. We got to get out of these echo chambers and see the humanity in one another." And so yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And I just, and then it's weird. It's like after you like share space with, someone, and you kind of are reflecting on it, and you just feel like this goodness that is sort of indescribable about like that connection and community amongst humans. I think it's just we're just social, like we just need to be around other humans.
Yeah, I do know. I too am introverted. I remember when COVID hit, aside from the complete, tragedy of losing so many people, part of me was like, okay, I've been preparing for this my whole life. No
Yeah.
problem. Like,
Yeah, it was
cool.
like kind of like it felt good, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's okay for me to be like this, but
Yeah.
yeah, dangerous.
Yes. And that is correct. Being someone who is in recovery from alcohol and drugs, boy, being alone up here, that is the worst place I
And
can
you've
be.
seen a bunch of mad people online yelling
Uh-huh.
about stuff, and that makes you
Yeah.
feel in a certain way, and then you kind of like it's
Yeah.
I don't think we were like evolved to like live in this society.
No, I do know. But you're so right. And I was living in California a couple of years ago, and I was renting a room, and there was one of the great gifts of that. This was in like 2023. It was a room where I could not have the shades open because it was right the walkway into the house, and then I'd have no privacy. I would get claustrophobic, and I knew that if I did not get out of that room, I would end up drinking because that was the only way I was going to like be able to manage. And so that forced me to work on my introversion, which, historically has been a big part of, I've had some relapses in my life, and that's been a part of it. So it forced me to get uncomfortable and to find community and diverse community. One of my best friends was an Episcopalian priest, and but like the cool kind. He had a transgender child, a Sufi mystic that I actually grew up with. Connecticut, happened to live out in San Diego. Someone who worked in a hospice. You just diverse people. Yeah, we're very similar because I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I don't. I love, and I think this comes back to your pedals. Why I love these pedals is there's so many creative opportunities and way you can go and things to learn and yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but like truly, like that's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So now that we're back to the pedals, I know we're starting to get close on time.
Jeez, it's going by quick.
It really is. We still got some minutes, and
Okay.
Joel, please know, open invitation. This
All right.
anytime, like you are always welcome back. Always. This is such a fun conversation, and we're gonna end this in a little bit, and I'll be like, think of 30 things I wish I'd asked you, and uh, but I did want to ask, looking ahead, some things that you're excited about. I can only begin to imagine, but with Chase Bliss, your collaborations, designs, I mean, the community that's been growing with Chase Bliss, like what are some things that really like are lighting your heart up right now about all of that?
Oh, I love this question. It's sort of like challenging me because I think I have been kind of like down lately, and so it's
Okay.
it's kind of like a nice challenge to be like, what are you excited about? And I guess it's that, if I look at like maybe where things were in my life 10 years ago, and I think about what maybe things could be like 10 years from now, maybe I guess it's easy to get pessimistic and have sort of dark thoughts about the future, but maybe maybe it'll be cool. And I have kids. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and I'm just like, it's like the joy of my life. That's what I feel like is my bliss right now, is
Yeah.
watching them grow up and seeing them, you know, just seeing their humanity and seeing, the people that, that they become. And I think that is incredibly exciting and fulfilling to me, is to imagine my relationships with my kids in the future, and what that might look like, and what kind of adventures we might have, and just navigating all that, I think yeah, I can tell it's like
Yeah.
like that warmth that you're talking about. And
Yeah. I see the way you light up when you talk about it. I appreciate it. You did say something I want to follow up on. And thank you for being honest. You said before you answered that, and part of your answer to this question you might have already just said, but you say you've been down lately. Something that also lands for me. It's been a rough go, and I don't think I'm terminally unique in that. I think a lot of us, but in our own ways. And I truly depressed at times, and just working through it. And so I'm curious if you're comfortable talking about it. Kids aside, family aside, are there any things that you do that help get you out of that funk, that get you through your day?
Ooh, my favorite thing to do is just to go for a walk,
Mhm.
by myself. Now I have a dog, so like
Oh,
that
nice.
whole thing, and that is like, oh man, she's the best.
What kind of dog?
Golden retriever.
Sweet.
Yeah, and yeah. We've been talking about getting a dog forever. It finally happened.
Awesome.
But I think, my favorite thing to do is to just to go out for a walk in like the middle of the day, and not really have like an absolute time I need to be back, and just kind of like walk around, and maybe like, oh, maybe I'll go over here, or maybe I'll go over there, and just think about stuff, and get maybe as like ideas for, a pedal, or it'll be for some like event we're doing. I love to travel, so I love to meet new people, and experience places that I've never been before, because I always feel like I learn so much about so many things. And I kind of just like to daydream, maybe
Yeah.
sometimes I'll listen to music, but sometimes I won't. And yeah, I really like that, just wandering around.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
And I like the part where you don't have to be anywhere right now. Can just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
That's the
That's
best. That
awesome.
usually doesn't
Yeah.
happen, but that would be the ideal scenario. It's just like, well, I'll get back when I get back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I was in the process of writing my first two books, the majority of them were written while I was out on a run. Didn't have to be anywhere a certain time, just go. And it's usually 3-4 mile mark. All the thoughts had worked through themselves, and then it was just
Got
kind
the
of blank.
endorphins kicking in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the download would come, whatever I felt compelled to write about. Then I'd get home, sweating over the computer,
Oh,
just
shit.
sweater. But that's just, that's how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do that. I'm actually probably going to go for a run when we're done with this. Just
Awesome.
get out there. Get out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything we haven't touched on that you would like to discuss before we start bringing this to a close? I always like to leave that door open.
It's funny because I kind of just want to redo the podcast and ask you all the questions you asked me. I would love to know what you're hopeful about for the future.
That's a dangerous question, my friend Gus.
Okay.
Based on the conversations I've been having lately, it's not that I'm a pessimist at
Sure.
all. I feel
It's kind of a challenging question, isn't it?
It is, especially in this day and age. You know, the line of work I'm in, where I'm seeing people, watching drug deals, prostitution. I'm seeing it. Looking around at the state of the world. I think what makes me find some semblance of hope And I'll tell you a quick story. First, I'll answer the question, then I'll tell you a story I've told before, but it means something to me. Um, it's the stranger who smiles at me that doesn't know me walking down the street. It's like the old lady in the grocery store that even I'm covered in tattoos, like, I mean, head to toe covered. I'll be in the grocery store and she won't even care. She's like, hey, can you help me get that box of cereal down? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, just the fact that there's still humanity, like decency in the world, and it does seem increasingly devoid of it, which is hard, but it's still there, and that, you know, right now that's what's giving me hope. I will just hang on to what I can find, and that's not to say that won't shift tomorrow, because the one thing that's ever present is this moment, and it's constantly changing, and I know that. But the hope, really quickly. So I have that word, tattooed on my hands, and I got this, gosh, 25, many, many, many years ago, and I got it actually after I went through my first detox and rehab program, and it was about 14 months after that, and I went to Rome, and I was visiting a friend I'd never been, always wanted to go. It was around my birthday, and it was my first relapse. When in Rome, right? I'm like, oh, I can drink, just have a few. No, I can't. But I was sitting on a bus. It was around like 2 a.m. going back to the person's apartment I was staying with, and I had a big can of Foster's beer and just sitting there, and I wasn't blackout drunk yet, because that's the way I drink, is straight blackout. And I remember this old Italian man kind of diagonal from me on the bus in his 80s. He was staring at me, and I was used to it because of my tattoos, but usually they break the stare. This guy didn't. And I'm like, huh, okay. 2 or 3 times over the course of several minutes, I looked, and he didn't break. And I'm like, what is going on? And finally, he points down at my hand, and he goes, hope. I was like, yeah. And he goes, that's the last to die. I said, okay. I didn't think much of it then, but there were some subsequent relapses I had after that, points in which I truly did not think I was coming back from, and points in which I didn't care if I came back from. But I heard that faint, like whisper, like you said with your brother, I heard it. Hope, it's the last to die. And it was a little flicker that reignited that candle in here. It's what I needed in that moment.
Mm.
And to this day, I still hold on to that. And I've told that story a lot in the past. I write about it in my first book, but I haven't talked about it in a while. So what an apropos time, I think, right now. Thank you for asking, because now more than ever, it's something I do hold on to. So thank you, for asking. People don't usually ask me questions on this podcast. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I just imagine that image in my head of this guy. Yeah.
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 It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Yeah, that was touching. Thank you for making me think of that. I needed that today, because it was a rough one. But this has brought me joy, and to have conversations like this, that like, here's a guy that, it's our first interaction, but like, I feel your heart. I truly do. Like, thank you for that, and thank you for the Instagram video that inspired me to reach out to you, and thank you for writing back. Like, I had already, the funny thing is, I had ordered the Lost and Found pedal. We didn't even really talk about your pedals, my God. But I'd ordered the Lost and Found pedal, like, I don't know, as soon as I saw it, and before I even saw that video, and I was so excited. And then I saw that video, and I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, let me have this. Let's see if and you wrote back. I'm like, awesome. So things like this, there's people like you out in this world, and I can modestly say people like me, because I can be decent. I still struggle with owning that. But
we all do.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so all of that said, Chase Bliss pedals are, I don't even know how to finish that. How do you finish that sentence, Joel? Chase Bliss pedals are.
They are your friends.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
Yes, they
not
are.
well, maybe not your actual friends, but they're I hope that they can bring joy and inspiration and creativity and hope for people in their own little way.
Yeah. And I can say, as one of, I'm sure, countless people, they have. I'm playing with the reverse mode C, and for musicians, it's a delay pedal. Oh, and so much more. And I'm not even a quarter of the way through learning this thing, and that's what I love about these pedals. I will probably die before I know all of them in and out, and that's okay with me. The possibilities
Yeah.
are endless.
I'm glad that's okay with you.
Oh, it's okay with me. It has to be, because otherwise I would just go nuts. There's no way. I even find I just watch with pedals I don't even own. I will just watch people demoing and getting creative with Chase Bliss pedals. Like, I love the Knobs channel. That's how I found you years ago. But I just love what people do with these things. Like I said, I forgot the woman's name, but that harp player, I know she does other pedals too. How cool. How cool, So, and you have a hand, like, thank you, man, and your team, because I know it's not just you. I saw
Yeah.
the video today, actually, or the post
Yeah.
on Instagram of you guys are working on the Lost and Founds, and so yeah,
You got a great crew. We got a good thing going.
yeah. The video, what sold me on the Lost and Found, not that I wasn't going to order it anyways, but the video you guys did, it was you and I don't know the other two people. You're sitting around a table just being silly, and
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Knobs, because that's actually Knobs. One of the
okay.
Yeah, that's Scott. Scott is Knobs, and then Tom Majeski is he wrote the code, so he wrote all the algorithms for it. So
Okay. Yeah, Knobs has hurt my wallet a lot over the years.
he is one of the most amazing people I've ever met.
Yeah. Just those videos, like they are so. There's ASMR, and then there's like Knobs, next level. Like, seriously, I bought pedals just because of that. I'm not kidding. Like, seriously, in the best possible
I remember
way.
the first time I saw one of his videos, it was I think it was his second video he put out, is a Montreal Assembly Count to 5. He did a demo, and I just was like, I need to work with this guy,
Yeah. Perfect marriage. I see it, and yeah, I'm so glad you guys connected. So, all right, well, Joel, thank you for the pedals. Thank you for your humanity, and thank you for your time. Like, this, truly, like, I needed this selfishly, so thank you for that.
Awesome, man. I needed it too. Appreciate it. Appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
That feeling is more than mutual, my new friend. Thank you.